This is CBN NewsWatch.
And thank you so much for joining us for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. It's Friday, October 4th. I'm Ephraim Graham. Parts of the country have felt more like August than October. All-time record high temperatures for October were recorded Thursday in more than 24 cities from the eastern Great Lakes through the Ohio Valley and into the Deep South. The National Weather Service reports all-time record highs were tied or set in scores of cities from Cleveland and Indianapolis to New York and Nashville. Baltimore, Washington, D.C. and New York City are among the cities that are experiencing their hottest October days on record at midweek, as temperatures soared into the middle and upper 90s. However, most people say they are ready for cooler temperatures.
I'm kind of ready for cold weather, ready for at least fall weather by October.
I'm ready for some boots and leggings, quite honestly.
I agree with you. Well, they may soon get their wish. A major swing in temperatures by as much as 50 degrees will bring much cooler temperatures and parts of the nation early next week. A Virginia Democrat faced her constituents for the first time since coming out in support of impeachment. Elaine Loria represents the 2nd District, which includes Virginia Beach and parts of Norfolk. On Thursday, the former Navy commander held a town hall to gauge voter reaction to her decision.
The people who have come up to me have said, you know, we support you. Thank you for being strong. Thank you for making a decision because it was the right decision, not because there was a political calculus.
Some at the town hall did not agree with her decision to support impeachment, and outside the meeting, Republicans held a protest rally. Loria is one of about 60 vulnerable Democrats the GOP is targeting in the 2020 races. Things were even more heated than normal around the impeachment inquiry with the president's well-known tweets. Mark Martin spoke with Mike Brest of the Washington Examiner about how the impeachment talk is playing out on social media.
Welcome, Mike. You're a breaking news reporter with the Washington Examiner, and you've dealt a lot with the president's tweets. Did he notch it up this week with the impeachment talk?
I think he notched it up a little bit, but I don't think it's particularly surprising compared to what we've seen throughout the entirety of his presidency.
How do you see this playing out across social media?
I think it'll be interesting to watch as the House continues with their impeachment inquiry to see how both Donald Trump as well as other members of Congress handle it in the digital age.
Now, the president tweets about so many different topics. Do you expect the president's tone to change now going forward about the impeachment inquiry and other issues?
I think what we've seen so far is that he's been very aggressive in regards to the impeachment inquiry, and I don't expect that to change. However, it will be interesting to see if that anger carries over to other topics.
Republicans involved with the impeachment inquiry against former President Bill Clinton warned Democrats to proceed with caution. What are your thoughts on that, and then what's happening now with this current inquiry?
I think it's very interesting because you see a large percentage of the Democrats in Congress already coming out in support of impeachment, but at the same time, the question really comes down to whether or not the country backs that.
Okay. What kind of response have you seen to the back and forth?
I've seen a lot of people calling for both President Trump as well as other politicians to really try and rise to the occasion, to look at the facts and to stop the mudslinging.
What are your thoughts, Mike, on the whole issue involving Adam Schiff and the whistleblower, the allegations that the whistleblower was coached before filing his complaint? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, so I think it's a very interesting piece of information that the whistleblower went to House Intelligence Committee aides beforehand, and those aides went to Adam Schiff because he did say that he hadn't had any communication with the whistleblower. So it'll be interesting to see if his role as the head of the House Intelligence Committee, as a major player in the impeachment inquiry, changes, and whether or not how Nancy Pelosi is willing to act on that.
So what can we expect going forward with this inquiry? Break it down for us.
I think moving forward, you will still see the 6 separate committees going with their investigation. I think ultimately it's a matter of time from what we've seen that the House will likely impeach the president. And as Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said earlier this week, he will hold a trial in the event that the House does impeach the president. However, I think it's pretty unlikely that the Senate will convict the president, thus removing him from office.
Right. Mike Bress, breaking news reporter with the Washington Examiner. Thanks for your time, Mike.
Thank you.
The nation's largest Protestant denomination is putting the issue of abuse front and center this week, hosting an historic conference designed to help churches learn how to prevent abuse and to support survivors. Heather Sells has the story on the high-profile event.
The Church Too movement has followed the Me Too movement closely since it began in late 2017. For Southern Baptists, it blew up last year with a Houston Chronicle report that detailed accusations of sexual misconduct against hundreds of Southern Baptist clergy and staff. The report identified more than 700 victims. President J.D. Greer says he cringed when it came out.
When I first heard about the Houston Chronicle article, my kind of gut reaction was to pray, Lord, protect our reputation, help the gospel not to go backwards, and help us to don't let people skew the information. And it was one of those moments where I felt the Spirit of God say to me, that's not what I want you to be praying. I'll guard your reputation. I want you to be willing to do whatever it takes to provide safety, a more safe environment for the victims and the vulnerable.
This week's conference is an attempt to educate the denomination's 47,000 churches. One of the most prominent speakers will be Rachel Denhollander, best known for her battle to convict Olympic doctor Larry Nassar on charges of sexual assault. On a recent book tour for her new memoir, Denhollander told CBN News that she's looking for SBC pastors to be willing to admit when they don't know much about abuse. She's also calling for a detailed writing of wrongs.
And I expect that the SBC leaders, the ones who are standing up and preaching the grace and repentance of God, can demonstrate the level of grace and repentance that I require out of my 4-year-old. I am sorry that we did. And to identify specifically what went wrong. I am sorry that it did. And to identify the damage that was caused. And then to start asking the question, how can we repair the relationship, and to listen for the answer. Right now, the SBC they've done a lot of corporate and general repentance, and I'm grateful for that. There has been no specific admissions of what went wrong. There has not been a pastor or a church that they have pointed to and said, this is not okay.
Denhollander said she'd also like to see the denomination explore ways to penalize churches that mishandle abuse. Heather Sells, CBN News.
The movie Joker opens this weekend with a warning from the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security. The agencies say there has been online chatter for months calling for mass shootings at theaters where the film will be playing. The threat is serious enough, the U.S. military also cautioned men and women in uniform about going to see it. The Joker is seen as a sympathetic character to dark web groups called incels. The term incel stands for involuntary celibate and is made up of young men who are socially disconnected, don't have girlfriends, and are addicted to pornography and violent video games and could pose a terror threat. Coming up, political turmoil in Israel as the Jewish state still has an unsettled election and the pre-indictment hearings for its prime minister.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
On October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Just moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket right on the Gaza border.
And ministering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
A 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place. Go to CBNNewsChannel.com to find out how to get the CBN News Channel on your TV all day, every day. CBN News.
In Israel, no end in sight to the political deadlock. The newly elected Knesset, essentially the parliament, was sworn in Thursday without a new government. President Reuven Rivlin is still urging Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his Likud faction to form a unity government with the blue and white leader, Benny Gantz. But both are standing their ground.
I call upon Netanyahu, do not entrench yourself in your position. We will take the reins from here and lead the country for the good of the citizens.
We're in the middle of a great effort. I'm doing this over the last few days of trying to establish a broad unity government. This is what the voters decided, and this is what is right at this time.
Netanyahu has about 3 weeks left to form a government. Chris Mitchell joins us now from our Middle East Bureau with more on this story. So, Chris, is there a real possibility for Israelis going into a third election?
Yes, Ephraim, believe it or not, there is. I mean, it's historic that they actually went to a second, but right now the gridlock is historic, and it looks like really no party's going to budge, whether it's the blue and white or Likud or some of the other players in the Knesset right now. What happens right now are two things. First of all, the pre-indictment hearings for Benjamin Netanyahu will continue. They've had 2 days of hearings this week, 2 more next week, and then after perhaps Benjamin Netanyahu gives the mandate back to President Reuven Rivlin, which most people expect, it will actually go to the Knesset. They'll have 3 weeks, 21 days, to be able to try to form a government themselves, that is the government that was just sworn in. We'll see what happens, but all indications right now, I think, look like we're heading to a third election here in Israel.
Yeah, unbelievable. So, Chris, what can you tell us about the latest, about what's happening in northeast Syria and why this is so important?
Well, Ephraim, it's a really big story here in the Middle East. I think it's underreported right now. Just a few weeks ago, Recep Erdogan, the president of Turkey, stood up among the UN General Assembly, and he actually had a map of Turkey and northeast Syria. And what he's recommending is that there'll be a safe zone, a security zone for 400 kilometers, over 300 miles, along the Turkish northeast Syrian border, and maybe 25 miles wide. And what he wants to do is actually resettle up to 2 million refugees. Now, northeast Syria is something we've reported on throughout this year. It's really a democratic government, and it really has been formed out of the ashes of the Syrian civil war and the battle against ISIS. It's really a bright spot in the whole Middle East. If Turkey comes in, it would really disrupt the balance of power sort of in the Middle East. It would create a vacuum. You would see Iran, Russia, Turkey fighting over that area. So it's very important, I think, that the United States troops remain there to bring that stability and protect this new democracy in the middle of the Middle East.
Chris, I want to turn now to the 10 days of awe. What's it like now in Israel during this period?
Well, it's actually a remarkable time, Ephraim. From Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of the new year, to Yom Kippur, the crescendo of these 10 days of awe. People make amends. They ask forgiveness. It's really a time of introspection to reevaluate your life as you look to the new year. It's really a very special time. And as I said, the crescendo is on Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, really the holiest day of the Jewish year. And then following that, just a few days from there, will be the Feast of Tabernacles, celebrating the Israelites being protected by the Lord as they fled Egypt and came to the Promised Land. And so it's a very, very special time here. Also, sort of like Thanksgiving and Christmas in America, sometimes a lot of things don't take place. Business sort of gets on hold till after the new year. Same thing happens here in Israel.
Well-deserved break. What do you have for us this week on Jerusalem Dateline?
Well, Ephraim, I think it's a really special program. We were in Saudi Arabia about 2 weeks ago to report on the visit of a U.S. evangelical delegation led by Joel Rosenberg. We reported on that, but we stayed several days longer, and we reported on what's called Vision 2030. It's an attempt to take the Saudi Arabian embassy out of an oil-based economy to one based on business, technology, and tourism. And really, Saudi Arabia is opening up to the world for the first time this season, this fall. They're opening up to nearly 50 nations. Tourists can apply to come to Saudi Arabia. We also sat down with some young Saudis about all the changes that are happening. We hear about women driving. They talked about these changes that are really remarkable. And finally, we talked about what Arabia has to say in the Bible. The Queen of Sheba was from Arabia, visited King Solomon, and also Paul went to Arabia after his Damascus Road conversion. So Arabia has really a part to play in the Bible.
Beautiful. You can, of course, catch Jerusalem Dateline this evening at 9:30 Eastern on the CBN News Channel. Still ahead, the Rams and Seahawks, plus paying college football players. These stories and more, we've got that for you with Going the Distance in the World of Sports with our reporter, Sean Brown. Stay with us.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream, the chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities, the chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in the greatest story ever told. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Theirs is a world of endless possibilities. They are looking for a story to believe. We will tell them that story. Will you join us?
We will move the American embassy to the eternal capital of the Jewish people, Jerusalem.
As the nations rage, you can stand with Israel.
History is being written, and I want to be a part of it.
Call 1-800-700-7000 and get to life.
This is our nature as a country.
Discover the untold story of how Israeli volunteers are changing the world.
We consider it our duty to reach out and help others around the world.
For a gift of $10 or more, you can own the acclaimed CBN documentary To Life.
To treat a human, no matter what he is, which religious he have, which color he is, this is what I'm doing.
Support Israel in their time of need. Get to Life, now available on DVD. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
And I wish that other people throughout the world could see this side of Israel.
Welcome back. CBN Sports reporter Sean Brown joins us now with the latest in the world of sports. So let's begin with the game last night between the Seahawks and Rams.
Okay, man. Ephraim, look here, man. Thursday Night Football was created so that fans can get just a little taste of what's coming in the weekend. Okay, you got Thursday Night Football, then you got to wait Friday and Saturday to get to NFL football. Last night, it did not disappoint. It was a great appetizer for what's coming for the weekend. Seahawks, Rams, NFC West, division rival. That's what we expect. Big games on those nights. Primetime football at its best. Great game. Both teams able to get into the end zone. Big defensive games. I love watching Russell Wilson, the biggest play of the night. Obviously, him making a pass to Tyler Lockett was my favorite play. He's elusive. He's able to run around the field, and it's awesome watching big defensive player Aaron Donald chase him around. But at the end of the night, it came down to a call that was put on Clay Matthews because of a hit that he laid on Russell Wilson. He really led with his shoulder, but he got a 15-yard penalty for roughing the passer, which that kind of cost him the game, mainly because it was a 15-yard penalty and the Seahawks were able to score on that drive. And so that was a little controversial. I know that they're a little sensitive trying to make sure they're making calls, especially after last year's set of calls. But at the end of the day, you got to get those calls right because they can determine the game. The Rams tried to bounce back, couldn't get the field goal in. They could have won either way. But both teams played well for the most part. But again, it came down to that penalty on Clay Matthews, which shouldn't have been called. But it is what it is. You move on. And it comes on next week.
You got it. Well, as football ramps up, Major League Baseball ramping down. Playoffs started this week. What can we expect?
Okay, look here, man. So we've got the Reds, Yankees, Rays, Astros, and the AL. In the NL, we've got St. Louis. We've got the Braves. We've got the Nationals. We've got the Dodgers. Excited. Who's going to make it? I think. You ready?
Okay.
I think the Yankees are going to make it out of the AL.
Let's go.
Okay.
Good.
I think the Dodgers are going to make it out of NL. That's what I want to see.
Okay, I agree with you there.
You expect big plays, great pitching, great hits. You're going to have some errors in the game, like you've seen leading into the postseason. Some guys are going to miss some balls, but that happens. How you bounce back is what's going to determine who moves forward. But that's what I think. That's my prediction. So get ready for it, y'all. I think it continues to start tonight.
You heard it here first, and I like that. I like that. There's been talk in the world of sports about paying college players. What's going on there?
Okay, first of all, California Governor Gavin Newsom signed a bill that will allow players to accept and get an agent and make money off endorsements. Now, I'm a big proponent for paying players. I always have been, college players, because the schools make so much money off these players, and the players don't see any of the money. Okay, so they of course, they get free education, they get food and board and all that stuff. But when you talk about it, just take USC, University of Southern California, okay? They bring in roughly, the football team, roughly $60 million yearly or more, yearly, okay? Tuition to get into USC as a regular student is $53,000, roughly, okay? So you multiply that times, 100 players on the roster, give or take. You're talking about what, 3.5 million, if my math's right, somewhere around there. That's a fraction, okay, of what these schools are making off these teams. So now what Gavin Newsom has done is he said, all right, well, look here. If the school's not going to pay them, at least allow them to make endorsements off of what they're accomplishing on the field. Because the reality is all these players aren't going to make it to the NFL, okay? Some of them are risking their bodies. They're being injured. That compromises that. Yes, they're getting an education, but you've got regular students that have full-time jobs. Right. So why not allow these players to make money just like you're making? My suggestion, if this wasn't happening, was at least give the players a percentage off the money that you bring in from the athletic program.
Makes sense. I mean, those players certainly couldn't be working while doing this.
It may cause some friction with the NCAA. I'm sure they'll work it out, but it's fair. And it's about time. So big up to Governor Newsom for doing that.
I agree, and I applaud him for signing that on LeBron's show as well.
That
was pretty cool.
In LeBron James-like fashion. Hey, can we get you on the show? Of course, LeBron. Yeah, of course we'll do anything for you. Of course he had to have him on the show.
I love it. Now, the NFL suspends a player real quick for a helmet-to-helmet hit. What can you tell us about what happened there?
Burfict, laid a hit on one of the Colts players, Jack Doyle. Now, Jack Doyle received the pass. He's already going down to the ground. It comes Vontaze. Head first, arms out, takes him out. He gets up, but he gets a penalty for that. But it was a head-to-head, a helmet-to-helmet contact. You cannot do that anymore. Those days of head-to-head contact are over. With concussions being what they are, they suspended him for the rest of the season, as they should. He's a professional. Going off the field and blowing kisses at everybody after you've just been ejected from the game, and suspended, is unacceptable in this league. And so the league moving forward, it's about the players and their health and their safety. So good riddance.
Yes, indeed. Want to remind you, you can, of course, watch Sean's show at 6:30 Saturday and Sunday at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time, as you see there on your screen, Going the Distance.
Thank you so much, man.
All right, coming up, we're going to show off some of the pictures you sent us from your Bring Your Bible to School Day. Stay with us.
Give me that. Bye. Sure, life is busy, but I found a way to make a huge difference in people's lives. I guess you could say I'm changing the world right here from home. I bring medical supplies and doctors to people in need, and dig wells so that villagers can have clean and safe water to drink. I make it possible to preach the gospel in over 100 countries, including right here in America. And when disaster strikes, I'm there, providing food, thank you, and emergency supplies to give people hope again. Every day, CBN and I are making the world a better place. Here you go. My life is hectic, so I joined CBN through Pledge Express. My bank does all the work, and I know that my gift is being used where it's needed most. So become a CBN partner and join Pledge Express, because you can do a world of good right from where you are. Hi, good morning. Are you ready to get started?
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Get Protect Your Sleep and live your best life with innovative information from 5 leading sleep experts.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
Discover a sleep-enhancing bedtime routine, how to put insomnia to rest, learn how to relieve pain that disturbs sleep, and much more in Protect Your Sleep.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Don't miss out on this brand new series.
We will move the American embassy to the eternal capital of the Jewish people, Jerusalem.
As the nations rage, you can stand with Israel.
History is being written, and I want to be a part of it.
Call 1-800-700-7000 and get to life.
This is our nature as a country.
Discover the untold story of how Israeli volunteers are changing the world.
We consider it our duty to reach out and help others around the world.
For a gift of $10 or more, you can own the acclaimed CBN documentary To Life.
To treat a human, no matter what he is, which religious he have, which color he is, this is what I'm doing.
Support Israel in their time of need. Get to Life, now available on DVD. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com.
And I wish that other people throughout the world could see this side of Israel.
Welcome back. We ask you, as your parents and students, to send in your photos for yesterday's Bring Your Bible to School Day, and you indeed responded. We want to leave you with a look at some of them, and you can find more of them at cbnnews.com. Hope you make it a great Friday. Until next time, goodbye, and God bless everybody.